Now this will actually conclude the whole Esther and Mordecai saga. For Esther and her uncle Mordecai, they just couldn't catch a break. They had this wicked Canaanite dude as their nemesis. And unfortunately, he was also the best bud of the king. They were drinking buddies. Can you believe it? So now in part 2, we're about to witness the roller coaster of fortune for our characters, both the good and the evil stuff. But before we jump into it, can I quickly ask you to do me a solid? Look down there on the bottom left corner and you'll spot a thumbs up button. Gentle tap from you would mean the world to me. Let's get into this show on the road and find out how this epic tale concludes. Well, greetings and salutations. Grab yourself a cup, pull up your chair. Now, if you recall, we ended last week at a major turning point in the book of Esther. It's where Haman's downfall begins and Mordecai's rise to power starts. So picture this. Esther, the brave lady of the hour, decides to throw a second banquet for the king and Haman to ask a little favor. But here's the twist. She drops the bombshell that she's Jewish. Now guess what? This sneaky Haman has been planning to wipe her and her uncle Morty off the face of the earth. You know, the very same Morty who saved the king's hide. And when the king hears all this, well, he loses it. Now he goes into another one of his drunken rages. He's so furious that he orders Haman to get impaled on that very steak he had prepared for Uncle Morty. Talk about ironic justice, huh? But here's the thing, that doesn't solve the problem of the decree to massacre the Jews. It's up to Esther and Morty to save the day. So they put their heads together and when they come up with this plan to reverse the decree. And hold on to your horses. Turns out there's some stupid law that says the king can't just take back a decree he's already made. So instead, he tells old Morty to issue a counter decree for the day originally set for the Jewish massacre. This new decree gives the Jews the green light to defend themselves and take out anyone who tries to harm them. And boy, do they celebrate. Banquets are held, feasts are had. Good old Uncle Morty, he gets a high seat right next to the king. Yeah, he's a moving on up. But this new decree, the Jews start crushing their enemies left and right. First, they wipe out Haman's whole family. Then any Persian official dumb enough to join in this wicked scheme. Now, on the second day, they're allowed to destroy anyone who plotted against them throughout the entire kingdom. Well, it's a grand triumph for the Jews. They're saved from total annihilation. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Esther and Morty, they decide to establish a 2-day celebration to commemorate their miraculous escape from destruction. But hold on, the story ain't over yet. The book wraps up with a short epilogue where we learn that Morty is promoted to second in command of the entire kingdom. He's got all the royal greatness and splendor going for him now, that's for sure. And guess what? The Jews are thriving in exile. Can you believe that? So what's the big picture? Well, let's step back and take it all in. You see how this whole book is designed? It's all about ironic reversals. Well, let's just call that what it is, God's intervention. Just look at how they saved the king, and in the end, they saved the entire Jewish community. Talk about a turnaround. But wait, there's still more. Remember Haman's fancy schmancy banquet that gets flipped on its head by Morty's rise to power? And right smack in the middle, we have Esther and Morty scheming away with Esther's banquets, acting as bookends to the biggest reversal of the whole story. Haman's humiliation and Morty's victory parade. It's like a roller coaster ride, I tell you. Wow, can you believe what an incredible story that was? Knocked my socks off. God's name never, ever came up, not even once. But his presence and his intervention, well, it was all over the place. So what's the deal with Esther and Mordecai's moral behavior? It wasn't exactly stellar, to be honest. But guess what? It was through their unwavering faith that God stepped in and turned things around for them. You know, if you look into the whole Old Testament, well, at first it may seem like it's all about living by the 10 Commandments. But guess what? That's not really the whole picture. None of us can live a perfect life, well, except for Jesus. Those commandments were there to show us how we should live, and that we can't achieve perfection on our own. Now let's talk about those Testament heroes. You know, the ones we all admire. They didn't earn or deserve what they received from God. It was an incredible gift given them solely because of their faith. They didn't achieve greatness by their own actions, but by simply believing in God's power and His promises. Now moving on, next week, we'll be delving into a whole new topic. And if you have any suggestions for what we should explore, please send them my way. I'd love to hear from you. Until then, I'll be here. Pretty sure you'll be there too. So let's catch up again next week. Till then, you take care. And don't forget the thumbs up button right down there on the lower left, and the share button over there on the lower right. And if you could share this with others, well, thank you. Now until next week, TGIF. Oh, thank God, I'm forgiven.